Hey, just a reminder, we are re-releasing the episode 128 of an episode I did with Jay Bars on the Peak Archery Project. That was like a little COVID deal that I did, but we got all kinds of stuff in the queue coming up for April and May. Finishing the forum series for the coach series, starting outdoor tuning, and then May Jay is joining me for an exclusive episode for our Team Barebow Project subscribers. If you want to know more about that, go to www.thebarebowproject.com. Check out the apparel, the achievement pins. Make sure when you go to that link that you subscribe to the bulletin, the Barebow Bulletin. It's free. All kinds of information and updates, and really just trying to spread the good word about Barebow. So, listen, enjoy this short snippet of what the coach series involves. Special thanks to Jens Fudge and Oliver Oakenholt, who stopped in as a surprise and kind of gave some feedback and talked to our Team Barebow Project subscribers. We're really trying to change the game with those exclusive episodes so we can give people the information that they want from some of the best minds in archery. Thanks again. Enjoy this quick excerpt from Coach Series.
You might even actually find that the curve is actually more something like this. So you go up and down in your level during some period of time. Um, I've figured out that most archers that follow this is because they're not actually planning what they're training. So they go to their archery club 2, 3, 5 times a week. And they shoot 30, 60, 100, 150 arrows every time they're there, but with actually no focus. So they're just shooting arrows, and then next day, let's shoot some more arrows, and then so just shoot some more arrows. You will probably get better, but the incline of the curve here will probably be like in 150 years, then you're going to be good enough to go to the competitions and win them that you want to, but no one's going to be 150 years. So we need to do something else. We actually need to focus on what we want to plan and focus on what we need to train to become better. And it's really not rocket science. The thing that I found was the most beneficial for me was to look at my loose. Just a minute, I have to switch the alarm off once in a while here, and this was just one signal that I'll be back in just a minute.
So, in regards to your
I'm
comment,
back.
Rob, hold on.
This is because I'm
Yeah,
at
you're
the
good. Go ahead. I was gonna comment real quick while you were gone. Rob
yeah,
commented that he's been there for 2 years in regards to that plateau.
yeah.
And I think I wanted what I was started saying just as you were walking back is that that plateau or that diagram doesn't necessarily it doesn't necessarily mean at 3 to 6 months everybody does that.
No,
Um,
no, 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 of course
for
not.
me, like, mine was a little bit different. Mine was more straight trajectory right from the beginning for like a year.
Yeah.
And I
So
went
some
shot right to like 540 if you have to put a score on it. Like a 5
yeah,
520, 530, 540 indoor score within like the first year and a half. And
yeah, yeah.
then outside factors in and plus internal factors
Hmm.
dictate where that line's going to go afterwards. And if you aren't able to focus on, I don't want to, you continue from here. So go ahead.
Right,
I just
good.
wanted interjecting while you were stepping away.
Sure. Yeah. So what I found for that would help me here was to focus on my loose for some months and then focus on my bow arm or some shoulder or pushing and pulling and all the different aspects that you have. So I'm just kind of tweaking each little bit every time. But the thing is that I do have a focus. Instead of just shooting arrows, I'm actually focusing on getting a very good loose, a really good loose. So I would have a device, not this one here, this is quite newer, but I would have a device to make my loose good. So I would draw back and then I would really practice making this very nice loose as much as possible. And I would not care where my arrows would hit in the target. I would just be focusing on whatever I was doing. And that actually made me climb in in my plateaus several times until I reached something when okay, now I've been all the contests that I wanted to go to, and then later on in my life I got an education, computer programming, and then I got married, and then I got kids, and so I'm not really shooting anymore. So I am, as Frank also said, I am trying to help a lot of people with getting better at what they do. So right, and by the way, I didn't state this, but if you have any questions during, just feel free to ask the questions, because if you're saving your questions to a Q&A at the end, we might have forgotten what we're talking about. So if you have something you want to ask, just jump right in and ask, and then we'll take it from there. It's not a problem. And I'm taking my glasses on and off all the time because I cannot read without them. All right. So, as I mentioned before, I would get some books from the library, but also what inspired me very much was that at the local archery shop I could buy a VHS tape with there was a VHS tape of Jay Bass with 1,000 arrows and a vision of gold. It's a small, I think it's a 15, 20 minute commercial sort of thing made from Easton. So the thing was they were trying to show how the ACE arrows were made, and well, basically trying to sell the ACE arrows using Jay Bars as a person to explain what he would be doing. And he said something extremely interesting for me. He said that he had been visualizing his arrows before he went to the Olympic Games in 1988. And so I figured out, okay, what's visualizing arrows? What's visualizing your shoot? So I started to figure out what that was, and then I started to use visualization for my own. So I was really inspired by the thing that Jay Barr said. So I started really a lot into the visualization process, and then got that nailed also, which I also still today kind of ask people or encourage them to go ahead and do so, because it really does help. I found out during this that there are actually people who suffer from something called aphantasia, which is I never knew this until last year, I think. Some people are not able to visualize. And for me, that sounds weird, but it turns out there are around 7% of the Earth's population, they're not able to visualize. So, okay, so if you're one of them, sorry, but then you have to figure something else out instead. Okay, so we are we are at some level when we get to any given tournament. The level could be here or a bit higher or even higher, and some people are at a very high level, and some people are, well, everyone has their own level. And that's one of the things that I also have learned that helps an archer is to accept what level archer am I. So archery is a funny thing. First of all, it doesn't really matter how you shoot the arrow. If it hits the 10, you get 10 points. So has anyone ever tried doing this? So you draw up, oh, you make a really bad shot, and then you look with your binoculars and you go, oh, that was actually a pretty good shot. Well, it wasn't a pretty good shot. It was still a crap shot, but it just by accident hit the 10 or something. But it's still a crap shot. But you can also have something like, oh, okay, pretty good shot. What's that doing in the 5? That happens. And actually, I hate the bad shots that go in the 10 rings more, because it gives the archer the feeling that he's actually pretty good at archery, even though he did a really bad shot. he can still be a good archer. That's not the point. But the point is, yeah, I like the result to depict whatever the archer has been doing. And the other thing about the archery is that we need to focus on the process of shooting instead of focusing on the impact. Because, well, the impact of the arrow is the closest distance that we have is 18 meters away. So if you're focusing on something that's 18 meters away instead of focusing on yourself, that's a wrong sort of focus. But also, it's a kind of a second and a half away from where you're standing. So you're not only focusing on something that's not near you, you're also focusing on something that's in the future. Okay, given a second and a half, it's not really long way from the future, in the future, but it is in the future. So we need to focus on what we're doing. But the thing is, when we're at the end of the day of the shoot, there are no judges that have been looking at us to see the style or the form that we've been shooting, like they do with gymnasts. They're looking at the score. So we're trying to do something, make a good shot by standing on the line, and the result is that the arrow hits somewhere. We don't know exactly where, but it's going to hit somewhere. Maybe you should ask yourself, I'm going to ask you now, how many of you actually think, I'm going to put words in your mouth, but that's okay. How many of you actually think that you're in control of where your arrow hits? No one? Okay, that's good. Every time I've held a seminar, some people are going, I'm in control of where my arrow hits. And my good answer to that is, well, if you're in control of where your arrow hits, why have you not yet shot a maximum? Was that because you missed the target on purpose? But no, we are not in control of where the arrow hits, but we are in control of how we execute the shot. And that is where we need to put our focus. Okay. And that's what I said about planning the training. So I would plan the training so that I would have focus on how do I execute the shot. And I would shoot a lot on blank bail. I would shoot really a lot on blank bail. I would shoot maybe 4 meters, 5 meters away, a blank bail, maybe even close my eyes, because if I close my eyes, then I cannot focus on where the arrow is going to hit. I can only focus on my movements and the execution of the shot, which is the important thing to do. And it doesn't really matter if this is a longbow shooter, barebow, recurve, Olympic recurve, or compound. It's the same. So never ever focus on where the arrow is going to hit, but focus only on how you execute the shot. That will make it much easier for you. But also, I'm going to kind of skip from some training to some competition back and forth, because when you do actually get to the competition, if you're not prepared, if you know there's something you didn't prepare properly, then that is going to put doubt in your mind. So if you go to competition and you know you've got something with your loose, you're going to have that nagging away at you all day. So make sure that you're prepared to the extent that you can be. And I'm fully aware that we probably do not earn a living by shooting archery. We probably have a job. We probably also have a family. We probably also have other stuff in our lives. So we can't just spend 40, 50, 60 hours a week just shooting archery. So therefore, the level that we're at is going to reflect how much time and effort that we are putting into it, which is going to reflect how much time and effort that we are able to put into it. But as soon as you come to terms with, okay, I am a 440 points shooter on an indoor round with barebow, fine, that's good. I'm happy with that. And then just stay there until you actually increased your level by focusing on something that you want to improve, because there's always room for improvement. Otherwise, you'll be shooting 600 points. So there's always room for improvement. and there's always something to do. So you're going to nice and easily climb, make some new plateaus. And I told you in the beginning of this talk that some people have practiced and then figured out the mental game and then spent a year on the mental game and then suddenly said, okay, I've got the mental game covered now. I don't need to practice on that anymore. Okay, and that reminded me of this guy from Norway that I was coaching a little bit. He had posted something on Facebook that it was annoying for him that the last six arrows he would always mess his shoot up. He would be so close to go over 500 points with a bare bow on 18 meters or 25 meters. But the last three or six arrows, he would mess it up and he would shoot twos and ones or even misses. And then he would end on 495, 498, or 400 and something. I gave him some tips and I talked to him, and then I think it was maybe 2 weeks after this, he came back to me and said, I shot 510. So it was working for him. So he actually took the things that I've told him and he implemented it and it worked. And then a month later, he was on 530, 540, which was kind of crazy, going from just barely getting 500 to a couple of months later, he's on 540. And that was because he suddenly hit his second plateau. So he was climbing because some of the things that I've given him, most of it was actually the mental game. So his technique was pretty good, but it was the mental stuff that he needed to focus on, which is, as I said, equally as important as the techniques and the strength and cardiovascular training. And whatever you do, you have to, everything has to be there to be able to get higher levels of your archery. All right. Okay, so coming to terms with your with what is your own level of archery. So I'm going to just erase this here because
Hey,
I'm
yeah, and while you're erasing that, Stephen put in about setting expectations in the
yeah.
in the chat, and I think we need to be careful, in my opinion. We have to be careful with that word expectations because expectations isn't a goal. That's it. The expectations is I'm assuming this is how I'm going to shoot versus I'm going to put this volume of work in regardless of the result. And that's kind of
Yeah,
what Yen was talking about earlier. Like, hey, if you're
yeah.
gonna focus on your release and you're gonna slowly hammer out the perfect release for a 2 or 3 week period, your
Hmm.
release is going to be phenomenal after that 2 or 3 weeks. But while you're working on that release, you kind of have to incorporate in certain points within the training. You need to forget about your score. So
Absolutely.
let's say you are practicing 4 days a week, Steve, and 3 of those 4 days you're not scoring. And even when you do score, you're just focused on your release during that time. And that's more of a self-discipline, I think,
Hmm.
situation. So just be careful with that word expectations because that really can be a score killer as well. When you have
Yeah,
the expectation that, hey, I shot this score in practice, for example, and then you're
yeah,
expecting that that's the exact score or better that you have to have in that next, because you're really actually you're killing or undermining the goal with the
exactly.
expectation.
Yeah.
So,
Quick, quick,
And to
quick
take on
reply.
that note,
uh,
sure.
go ahead.
My quick reply is I understand what you're saying about expectations. I think what I really mean to say is knowing where you're at your
Yeah.
skill and making sure that you're not uh, uh, exceeding what you can or what you are capable of doing, but just knowing what your skill level is and being comfortable there, uh, so that you can move on.
Yes. That's
Does
and
that
it's
make
much
sense?
better expecting some
Okay.
higher.
Okay.
That,
Yeah.
yeah. to just go on that note with expectations, Frank, when he introduced me, he also said something about Oliver. So Oliver Oekenhold, who is a friend of mine here from Denmark, um, I met him 3 years ago, I think, and he was a phenomenal barebow shooter. He was shooting some points that a lot of Olympic recurve shooters here would dream of. And I was, wow, that's brilliant what you're doing. And he last year, so in August, I think it was 2024, he became world champion in 3D. Of course, because I helped him. There's no doubt about that. And he would never have done that himself, of course. So my medal, really. I'm kidding, of course. He became world champion. And then a couple of months later, we went to Kings of Archery in the Netherlands. Now, Kings of Archery in the Netherlands is a shoot that is for Europeans as big and as important as the Lancaster shoot is. But it's just a European thing. So there's not so many shooters, and the level might be not exactly as high as the Lancaster thing, but it's similar high, really, really good level, and a lot of archers get there, and all of the best archers from Europe are there. Now, Oliver went to Kings of Archery just 2 months after he became the world champion, and his expectations was he was going to nail the Kings of Archery. That was his expectation for himself. He didn't even make the cut to get to the finals because his head was messing him up really, really bad. And I tried to talk to him about it, but he was so frustrated because of this. And I've talked to him later, and at the time he couldn't see that that was the problem, but later on he could, yeah, you're probably right. It was probably my expectation of what other people are expecting of me, right? So get this, the world champion goes to a tournament, everyone is going to look at him as he thought, but no one really cares what you shoot. And that's kind of the hard truth. No one gives a rat's whatever. And so his expectations of himself and his expectations of what other people were expecting of him was just out of this world. It was so wrong and so way off, so that it messed him up really bad. We took that and then we worked with that. And then he did go to Lancaster, where he, of course, as you all know, where he did win the first prize. So he had a different mental approach at Lancaster as he did at King's Archery. But getting back to accepting your own level, this reminds me of, I have another diagram that normally would be used to measure or describe the normal distribution of something. So this is a normal distribution standard curve, and we use it in different areas, but one of the areas we use it is to measure the IQ of the population. So the thing is, the IQ of 100 is going to be dead center here. So most people, so this is the amount of people is in the y-axis. The highest volume of people is going to hit 100. That's the definition. And then we're going to have some people are going to go on 90, few people on 80. I have to be bigger. Some people on 110, some people on 120, and so forth. Maybe 120 is in reality down here somewhere, and 80 is around here somewhere. We do have some really, really low IQ people.
If you enjoyed listening to this content and want to know more, be part of future coach series exclusive sessions, go to www.thebarebowproject.com. Scroll down to Team Barebow Project. Click to join as a state or national champ. Hope to see you there.